Hey guys, what's up? Alec Torelli here. I am outside the Hustler. I'm playing on my first live stream session of 2024. I'm really excited. Had a great 2023 here. It was so awesome to play. I love this environment. It is premier live stream in the world. I'm grateful every time I get this opportunity. I love battling, love the high stakes game. I love the lights. Everything is a lot of fun. So it's a lot more pressure on, and I'm really ready for it. I feel like I had a great trip to Vegas in December, played a lot of high stakes poker out there. I'm just pumped. What can I say? I am ready to go in and battle. Let's get to the table and see some awesome hands. On tonight's show, we're playing 25, 50, 100 with 100 big blind ante.
Oh, wow. I can't lose everyone.
Nice hand, brother.
First hand kicks off here. I'm in the small blind, folds to me. I make it 400 with pocket fours. Stan calls in the big blind, and the third blind, Dylan, calls as well.
I don't even know. Set of fours here for Torelli.
Flop comes 10-4-3 with a flush draw. I decide to check here, going for a check raise. I just feel like it's a board where I'm going to be checking with air quite a bit, and people are going to bet often. But unfortunately, everyone checks. Turn comes a 7, bringing a flush draw again. I decide to go for the check again. At this point, if anyone has a hand they're going to call with, they're going to bet themselves. I feel like any pair is betting this turn just for protection, and then I could execute my check raise. Stan takes the bait. He decides to bet 800. Dylan gets out of the way. And at this point, I want to go very big here. My goal is to get stacks in by the river. And also, I'm not repping that much with a double check and then a raise. I either have some weirdly played set or straight or nothing. I don't even think I'd play it overpair this way with all the draws out there and the potential strong hands people could have on this coordinated board. Anyway, Stan makes the call.
Oh, what a river. Oh, dear.
River seems like a bad card for me, but it actually is a great card. It makes Stan 2-pair. But because there are 3 clubs on the board, I decided to just make a small bet here, 3,200. Just because I feel like it's really hard to get value from a 10.
Not a huge bet. And again, so Torelli folds the winner, then he wins a nice pot here.
Next hand comes up, Superman raises the button to 300. I'm in the big blind with aces, and we had just had this dynamic where I had 3-bet him very recently in the exact same spot. I had 10s that time. Here he opts to call with ace-jack. I think it's pretty reasonable. And we go heads up to the flop. Pot's 3K. I'm loving life. Flop comes king, queen, 4 with 2 diamonds. I have no diamond. Pretty clear bet here. I decided to go a little bit bigger on this texture of a board, just because I feel like any pair or draw he has is going to call regardless of my bet size. If he has a king, if he has a queen, that's a pretty strong hand on this board. I want to charge that maximally. He calls.
$7,100 in the pot. Superman looking for a 10 or?
Turn comes a 3 of diamonds. At this point, it's a pretty dicey card. I mean, I lose to a flush, but at the same time, I still get value from a king. I get value from a queen. And I could be bluffing here myself with a hand like ace-jack, ace-10, jack-10. Maybe I turned a flush draw. I could definitely be bluffing here with quite a few hands. So I think it's good to bet my hand for protection here. My stack side is kind of awkward to do so. But I still think it's better just to bet here, because the times he has something like king, jack of spades, I just lose so much value by checking. I also don't have a diamond, so it really sucks when I check and another diamond rolls off. I really need to protect my hand.
And he goes all in.
He now makes this jam on the turn, which really, really sucks for me. At this point, it feels like he's repping a small flush. I guess he could have some slow-played hands on the flop, like king-queen that just called the flop and now needs to protect, maybe pocket 4s, maybe even occasionally a weirdly played king 4. But I think a lot of the times this is just going to be a small flush. One thing I have to weigh here is just when he is bluffing, what is my equity? If he is bluffing, even with a hand like ace-jack, you know, this is my best case scenario, and he still has a ton of outs. So I feel like in spots like these, I'm either drawing literally dead if he has something like a low flush, which needs protection and wants to get value, or the times that I am ahead, he still has a lot of equity. And just in general as a framework in these spots in poker, whenever you're in a situation where your best case scenario is your opponent's still in decent shape and your worst case scenario is you're dead, when you add those two things up without going through all some fancy math, it's usually not that great of a spot.
And pardon me, Torelli actually getting slightly more than 2 to 1. 14-7, and he does let it go, and Superman once again.
Ultimately, this time, I do decide to make the fold. I am wrong, so there is definitely something to be said for that. I should have maybe been able to sniff this out or read him as weak or find that he was at the bottom of his range and make some strong call here. But overall, I'm not too upset about folding here. Just I think long-term in this spot, it's not bluffed that often, and I'm not going to be in great shape when I call it off. So ultimately, kudos to him. Great play by Superman, and on to the next one.
I'm always the last, though, so I got to try to be the first.
This is your kryptonite. Has a lot of hands, you know,
Next hand, we have a $200 straddle, so 4 blinds at this point. The game's heating up. Superman in the small blind makes it 700. Dan 3 bets to 2,300. I am in the straddle. I have jacks. Pretty clear ship here. We are playing the stand-up game. You can see those yellow buttons in front of Dan, meaning he has already won a pot. I don't have a button, so I obviously need to win a pot, which just makes it even more compelling to shove here, right? Because if you lose the stand-up game, if you're the last player to win a pot, you pay everyone a bounty. I think in this game it was $300 or $400 a person. So there's, you know, $3,000 at stake if you do not win a hand. I think jacks would be a shove here even without the stand-up game. But the stand-up game, you can think about it, it just widens people's playing their starting hands by 20 or 30% depending on the situation. It's a loose ballpark of it. But anyway, this is a very clear shove here. Quite happy to get it in a blind-to-blind battle. Dan tanks for a while, ultimately calls it off.
Okay. Twice? Sure. Whatever. First one for stand-up. I don't care. Okay. Yeah.
We go twice. Let's see what happens. Have to win the first one for stand-up game, so I'm really just happy to a chop here, but I really want to win that first board. Avoid the bounty. First board comes down, 866. Great for me. Turns a 7. Just hold off one time.
I'd be sailing away. I'd be sailing away.
Boom. There we go.
Yeah, we go twice.
Second board, ace high. Somehow he doesn't have an ace. Turns a deuce. We're looking good. 1 card away from a double, and there we go.
A little bit of gamble there, huh?
Feeling good about it. At this point, I'm the big winner. Up 9,000. Off to a great start. Now we're playing 50, 100, 200 with a 100 big blind ante, but there's a $400 straddle. So the game doubled in size, and there's a straddle. It's quadruple the size of when we sat down. Things are heating up. We're playing the stand-up game. Dan is in the hijack here. Makes it 1,200. I am in the cutoff. I do not have a button. It's actually heads up between me and Mariano at this point. So if I don't win a hand and Mariano does, I have to pay everyone quite a big bounty. But in spite of that, it's still a decent hand to shove with here. I'm actually only 35 big blinds effective, even though I started with 150 big blinds. It's kind of just the nature of this game. I have a very clear shove here. Now Mariano in the straddle. Cold calls with 9-7.
One time.
One time? Yeah.
Very interesting call here. I guess he really did not want to lose the stand-up game. Not much to be said about that one. Kudos to him for having the gamble. We get it in. We're heads up in the stand-up game. We run it once. This is for all the marbles. It's for the pot. It's for the stand-up. Can we do it? He flops a 9. Oh my God, no.
Top pair here for Mariano.
Oh my God, it's so tilt. So I get stacked, and I rebuy, and I pay the bounty. 30K
Needs
pot.
help.
Oh man, poker's rough.
He doesn't get there. Torelli just lost a $30,000 pot with ace-jack to 9-7.
He's on Twitter.
Next hand kicks off. Dan makes it 1,200 on a $400 straddle. I find myself in pretty much the same spot I was before, this time with King-Queen. Very confident I'm quite ahead of all the hands that Dan could have. He's opening very wide. The game is playing very aggressive. I make a large 3-bet to 6,000, but basically commit myself. Unfortunately for me, Stan wakes up with 2 queens behind me. Stan makes it 20,000 here, basically committing himself to the pot. I really am hating my life here. I'm in a terrible spot with my hand, but obviously 5K left, getting the odds I'm getting. I committed myself to the hand. I have to call it off. I call. We decide to go twice. I'm not in good shape, but let's see if I can win one. First board bricks off, 7-7-4, turns a 9-6. I'm really looking for a king and a king only here. Flops me pretty much dead here with top set, and I get stacked again. Not looking too good. Click the rebuy button. Let's try again.
He's on Twitter.
All right, next hand, Dylan has jacks, makes it 600 in early position with a $200 straddle. Ben here makes the call, new to the game, decides to call here with the ace-9 in the hijack. Action folds around to me in the big blind, and I have pocket 10s. I think here I have a pretty clear 3-bet. My hand doesn't play great out of position 3 ways.
Once again with jacks.
I don't really see how I could do much else, especially when there's a dead money call in between. Dylan now thinks for a second.
Sorry, actually, I was Ben.
He picks up chips to just call, then thinks about it, then decides to ship it in. I kind of read that as weak. I felt like his initial instinct was just a call. I could totally be wrong here, and maybe I was right given the fact that he had jacks. I kind of ruled out aces and kings. I think normally I would fold this hand here. Actually, I'm very confident I would fold this hand here, especially against Dylan. He's pretty tight. But in this spot, I kind of read him as weak, and I thought ace-king would be a decent part of the types of hands he could have. In retrospect, I think I'm still a little ambitious here, calling it off. I could still maybe find a fold, even though I discounted aces and kings. I'm kind of trying to talk myself into a call here, especially with the stand-up game, getting sort of decent odds, but ultimately, even though those hands look to just flat call pre, it's still going to be jacks and queens a lot. Ultimately, we run it twice. First board, he flops top set. Hopefully, I can hit a 10. He already has one of his jacks out. Flop comes queen high. I do have backdoor diamonds. Turn is no help. River's a 6. Not in great shape. Rebuy it again. Seems to be the theme of the night. Poker changes fast. Quite brutal.
Yeah, he's on Twitter. This one was like a planned trip with like me and Airball.
Got a limp from Ben to 200 under the gun. Mariano makes it 800 in the hijack with 5-4 offsuit. I'm on the button. I make it 2400. This hand is wild. His hand gets fun. And folds back around to Mariano, who makes the call in the hijack. He's not a believer yet. He obviously has plans. Flop comes 8-3 deuce. He checks, pot's 5,500. I make a c-bet about a third of the pot to 1,800. Pretty standard so far. Mariano calls, not too much to this one. Turn comes a deuce, the pot's 9,000, and now he bets 1,000 when I have 10k behind. Feels like a block bet here. I know Mariano's very crafty, creative, smart. He could do this with a straight. He could do this with a set. He could do this with two pair. Ultimately, I felt like my hand was good. Let's leave it at that. And I decided to put in some weird, equally weird raise here. Going for value to 3,400. I guess this forces him to call with a lot of his second, third pair type hands or his block bet hands. Maybe he'll get crazy and chip it in too. Wouldn't exactly love that spot, but I would kind of cross that bridge when I come to it. Ultimately, he makes the call, which gives me a bit of confidence. I think at this point, it's likely that I'm good. Especially when the river comes a queen, and now he bets 200. What is going on here? We're both just clicking buttons. Does anybody know what they're doing? At this point, I still think my hand is good. I'm trying to think of like how I could get called if I shove, but ultimately, I'm just pretty confident I'm good here, just given the way my read and the way the hand played out. And so ultimately, I just decided to ship it in, and maybe he'll think I'm bluffing. I mean, I could be bluffing. I could have raised the turn with ace king or ace high or like king 5. It's the stand-up game. I could have anything. And if I was bluffing, I would bluff the river. Now he's thinking he's actually kind of in the blender here. He beats all my bluffs, and so it's just a matter of if he's going to put me on it or not. He takes for a while. Let's see what happens.
I can't lose everyone.
Nice hand, brother.
True story. You cannot lose everyone.
While he's in the tank, subscribe, like, leave your thoughts in a comment below. What would you do here in this spot? Did I play these 9s okay? This is definitely a weird spot. You're not in every day. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback in a comment below. Kudos to Mariano. Great fold by him here. Good read on his part. He finds the fold. I'm just happy to win a pot at this point. Oh my gosh, what a night. Alright guys, that's it for today's action on the Hustler. Overall, unfortunately, a quite brutal result here. My first time back this year, I lost $43,000. Pretty unfortunate. But the game is big, things move fast. We're playing 100, 200, 400, it's 100 big blinds. So, I mean, it's a lot of absolute money, but for the size of the game, it's part of the swings. It's pretty reasonable. Overall, let me know how I played. Leave your thoughts in a comment below. Be sure to subscribe here too. More action is coming from me on the Hustler. I'm putting out multiple vlogs of my series here while I'm back and forth between Vegas and SoCal playing on the Hustler. So stay tuned for that. Follow me on Twitter at Alec Torelli and Instagram for reels. I put out short individual hand reviews as well. That's a lot of fun and appreciate your guys' support, love, attention, everything. I'm Alec Torelli. See you in the next one.